What's hood with you? This is Opinionated 3000. I'm your host, Mr. Opinionated. Let's jump right in and see what they got cooking.
My name's John Mendoza. I'm a former member of the Nuestra Familia prison gang. I was a Category 3, and I was a regimental commander in different parts of Northern California. And this is how crime works. I've been to San Quentin, Pelican Bay. In the early 90s, they put us out there with Southern Mexicans and the Aryan Brotherhood, the Nazi lowriders. Those were our enemies. They were putting us out there on the yard together, and we were going out there fighting. If you were crafty enough to bring a weapon out, we'll try to kill each other. I went to prison in 1988 when I was 18 years old. Some of my older homeboys that were there in the county jail with me basically told me that, when I get to San Quentin, that the NR is gonna approach me about making a commitment. I knew who to look for. The first time I went out to the recreation yard, there was a group of individuals that were in the corner that were covered with tattoos. Those were the NR members. From that point on, they put me on a 90-day probationary period. It's like you're functioning within that movement, but you're not an actual member. You can do anything that they ask you to do. Stabbing somebody, keeping security on somebody, holding paperwork, holding a weapon. A lot of guys that make a commitment because they want the status, they want the title, those guys are gonna end up getting weeded out because they're not making the commitment for the right reasons. They're not true believers. I was an NR member for about 5 years, 6 years.
What's a true believer then? If you're stabbing somebody for the cause, you're doing everything it takes to be down with it. But true believers have to really be putting in some serious overtime. Like straight up.
People take notice when you're functioning that long and you're not questioning authority, you're developing into a leader. Eventually the NF is gonna approach you because the NR in essence is like the NF's training grounds. I think it was 1994, I was approached by two high-ranking NF members, Smiley from Salinas and Mike Eo from Salinas. Induction process is similar to the NR. You go through an indoctrination process where you learn some of their concepts, their bylaws. You have a sponsor and you have the guy that actually pulls you. They're responsible for you. When you make a commitment to the NF, it's a lifetime commitment. I was asked things like, are you willing to kill your own flesh and blood? Are you willing to put the organization first before everything else in your life? Everything else that you were loyal to becomes secondary. They write everything down.
So basically what they saying, I've only seen as much of this as y'all have. So if you're not doing life or 20 years plus, organizations like this probably aren't for you. And I'm not knocking an organization because everybody got to do what they have to do when they're in those type of situations. But they asking, are you willing to kill a family member? I mean, come on. Stop looking at me, little puppet. Man, that's when it gets to that other side of things.
There's 14 bonds, which is, I used to call it like my little toolbox. Everything that I needed to know how to function within that movement. Conduct, discipline. You're encouraged to study things like Middle Eastern philosophy, Socrates, revolutionary literature like George Jackson, Che Guevara. And then there's everything that you need to know about how to make weapons. I can make a stabbing instrument out of 15 pieces of paper. It's all about how you roll it and then how you put the point on. When your membership is sanctioned, there's no big ceremony. They'll get together with you, maybe in a group setting out there on the yard. They'll say something like, today we're welcoming the brother boxer in. Me, I was right there in San Quentin on the yard, and it was done similar. Hey, this brother's a carnal now. He's a familiano from this point on. He's a member of the mob. It's like I felt like I reached a pinnacle, a point in my career where I had really accomplished something. Everything that I've done, it was all.
Let's talk about that for a little second. Once he became a member of them, he felt like he'd accomplished something in life. Not when he was out on the streets and he had a child or he had a promotion or, or something like that, where the average person feels like they accomplished something. And I know how I feel. Like, I'm not no square ass dude who was raised in a cubicle and I didn't live an outside life before I started giving y'all my opinions. So I know exactly how it feels. I know exactly how he feels. And I still, even though I know and I understand, I still feel sad for him. Like, to feel like because you became a part of that, you accomplished something. It's a sad feeling. It is. It is. And these dudes is probably straight up 100% about business. I'm not knocking them in no way, shape, or form. Mostly because I don't want them knocking on my door. All right. Respect y'all. No, but real talk. It's sad knowing that when a person like joins something like that, it's when they feel like they made it. So you got to ask yourself, how was his life before this for him to feel like now he accomplished something? I can speak on that. When you feel like that, your life is the lowest of the low. If you feel like joining any kind of like outside establishment like that, any kind of gang or anything like that is a highlight, your life is a low. There's other things you could be doing that'll make you feel better for yourself. A lot of us don't understand that there are plenty of things that we could do that would make us feel better. Helping the community. And I know that sounds corny and everything because that's not the path I took. But now looking back, I can see that anything that I could have did, like helping people younger than me to make it through like the difficult parts in their lives, would have been a better situation than what I chose. Still, I see it now, but my bad. I know I'm rambling.
It's all worth it. When a new arrival will come in, we'll get his information, we'll get all his vitals, we'll get his name, his CDC number, we'll get a little bit about his history, we'll get things like his AKA, his age, his neighborhood, what they called him. We'll look on the BNL to make sure he's not on the BNL. So the BNL, the bad news list, is we keep a roster of everybody that's coming in and out of that household. I'll send a filter out to all the members that are in that household, and I'll ask everybody, have you done time with this individual? This guy just drove up, do you know him? Any good or bad information? That'll get filtered out. If nothing comes back, he'll be welcomed into the household. Then at that point, he'll be given a care package, soap, shampoo.
Y'all know what he's saying, right? What he's saying, he's going to find out where you came from, and he's going to ask the other people who was there with you, what's your charges? Are you a good dude? You stand up. And if they hear something negative, that's your ass. Dudes like him right there, scary individuals like him, is going to do something to you. So people who think, oh, I'm going to a new place, let me start over, and oh, I'm gonna change my persona, and this is who I am now. No, dudes like him is gonna check your background and come see you if you not thorough. So be who you are. When you leave from one place, understand they know like your history. They're gonna check and see who you were at the place you came from. So if things don't add up, that's your ass, sir.
Coffee, toothpaste, things like that. When you first come in to an ad seg or even a mainline, they give you what's called a 114 lockup order. That's like your passport. The gangs, they're gonna ask you for that. But the only way you're gonna get a lockup order is if they freely give it up. That's the only way we're gonna get it. It's gonna say on that lockup order, whatever gang that you're affiliated with, it's gonna say things like if you got an S on your jacket, like a sex offense or something, it's gonna say it right there. So somebody like that, you know, you got an S, they probably wouldn't even give up their 114 lockup order because they already know what time it is. If you decline to give up that information, you're done. That's somebody that refused to comply with the program. Somebody like that's not gonna be welcome out to the yard. If he tries to come out to the yard, he'll get hit at the gate. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of perks with becoming a member like that. You're gonna get that rock star status kind of treatment from a lot of the youngsters out there on the streets and in prison. They look up to you. They call NF members just like they call Mexican Mafia members big homies. Well, you're gonna have a lot of access at money. I've learned a lot of things that I still hold to this day, even though I'm not a part of it no more. You know, things like conducting myself a certain way. The NF is built, it's constructed or built under a
he just said that he's not a part of it no more. I wonder if it's cool for him to be talking like freely like this, or if it's somebody that look like him that's gonna be knocking on his door because he giving up a little too much game and he's no longer affiliated.
paramilitary structure. A lot of the old NF members came from the Marines, they're ex-Marines. So they actually took a lot of the structure of the leadership in the military and brought it to the NF. You have like captains, lieutenants, commanders. A category one or for members that are just coming into the organization. They have no status over anybody else. Then you have a cat two. They've shown that they have leadership potential and they can give a correct interpretation of the Constitution. They'll become teachers for the Cat Ones.
I'm pretty sure that what he's saying right now, the people who's still like in it and running it, they don't want him saying all this stuff. So this stuff that he's saying is off the record, but it ain't. Watch your ass, big homie.
Now, in order to become a Cat 3, this is the cream of the crop. You need to be voted in. Then you have the inner council and the general council that basically make the decisions for the entire organization. You have a general for the prisons, you have a general for the streets, and then you have a general it's basically like a internal affairs. He handles investigations, internal disputes, things like that. When you're in the shoot, you might be in charge of like 200 guys. You're not really running the whole prison. There's guys out there on the main line, regimental commanders out there that are doing that. But on the streets, if you're a regimental commander out there, it might be 20 or 30 guys. I was a regimental commander all over Northern California at different parts. Each time, there was probably around 10 to 20 members that were under me at that time. A day for me, well, it depends. Like San Quentin, you're running H unit in North Block, West Block. I would have to sit there and answer some investigations. So you're getting daily filters or weekly filters from all these different blocks. All day long, I would just be getting inundated with kites. San Quentin is the worst place to be as far as being a leader.
Time to pay the bill.
The main rivals for the NF are the Mexican Mafia. They're following the Sureños. And then you have the Aryan Brotherhood, and they're following the whites. Out on the main line, it's mixed. Everybody's mixed out there. The Norteños, the Sureños, the blacks, everybody's mixed. If you're talking about in an ADSEG type of environment, a shoe program, everybody's kind of segregated. I spent all the 90s in the shoe program. When you see us out there on the yards and we're doing burpees and we're doing exercises out there, we're not out there doing that because we're just trying to get karate bodies and just trying to look nice, right? We're training for a war. That's what it is. They're getting ready to go to the shoe
Karate
programs.
bodies.
They're going to be engaged in a conflict. So the shoe program is like a prison inside of a prison. They put you in a cell and you stay in the cell about 23 hours a day. You'll come out of the cell, for a half hour to take a shower, and then you might come out for yard. And you come out to a yard you got 4 concrete walls and a camera. That's all that's out there. You got plexiglass on the top. If you see a bird fly over, you're like, damn, I seen a bird today, man. You go back in there and tell people in the pod. In the shoe program, they got what's called a nerve system. Everything is electric.
Man, how could you not behave like an animal when you're locked up in situations like that? I know you do certain things to get in those situations. I understand that. But when you're, how can I put this? When there's no means of rehabilitation, it's only like retribution or punishment. There's nothing to try to convert you from the person that you are into a person that you could be that would be like a benefit to society. When there's nothing, no structure in place that's actually going to change your way of thinking, then it's bad when you get out. And y'all wonder, oh, he got out and did the exact same thing he did before he went into prison. Yeah, that's because he was not conditioned to do anything other than that. He just sat in a box. Or even if he was out in population, he had to handle business in population. People there weren't trying to be doctors. They weren't trying to be lawyers. They weren't trying to be better versions of themselves. They were trying to be better criminals, better savages, because that's the situation y'all put them in. There's no longer programs to go into plumbing, to go to learn to be an electrician or anything like that while you're locked up. They don't have that anymore. Prisons now is all about a profit. It no longer is about rehabilitation. And that's sad. So you have somebody sitting in a cell with other men sitting in a cell, and they're not doing anything at all to better themselves. What do you think society is going to face when these people get out? Y'all really think they're going to get out with compassion or with the desire to do better? They've been locked up like animals with other people that are locked up like animals in a situation where it was survival of the fittest. In order to leave here physically intact and with my manhood intact, I have to be a better savage than they are. Of course, they're going to get out and commit other crimes. They haven't been conditioned or trained or taught to do anything other than that.
Electric up there in Pelican Bay. They sit up there and they push buttons all day. You know, you got one cop up there that's in charge of 6 different pods. So he might forget somebody's in the shower, or he might forget that a door is open, and he'll press another button and somebody else will come out. You could be in there watching TV or working out 1 minute, and you be out on the tier in a fight for your life the next minute. It'll happen just that fast. So
the problem with that is a lot of times it's not an accident. It's for the amusement of the guards. They want to see 2 people just battle, like straight up 100% go at it. So sometimes it probably is an accident. Oops, I left this door open and I opened another door. A lot of times they betting on that. Oh, I bet he get him. I bet he get with him. That's sad.
So us as Norteños, you know, all day our mattresses would be rolled up and we'd be sitting by the door. I mean, I get up and I work out, I watch my TV, but for the most part, whenever there was movement or activity on the tier, I would be posted up on my door ready just in case my door would open. Because a lot of times,
you wake up and you was working out. Stop lying. Probably a little bit. Not like that though.
COs would say it was a mistake, but it wasn't a mistake. You know, they popped certain doors open for different reasons. I used to see them. I used to watch from my cell.
That's sad.
There's a lot of different places out there on the yards to bury weapons. Inside the buildings, up on like in the little rafters, we obviously know where they're at, under sinks or in the walls, buried. They keister it, you know, to move a weapon from one place to another, they'll put it in their anal cavity is how it's moved around. I don't know how you want to put that out there. But so I went through Corcoran Shoe Wars back in the early 90s. We were going at it with the Mexican Mafia and the Aryan Brotherhood. You know, they knew we were mortal enemies, that we would kill each other if we had a chance. But they would put us out on the yard, and they knew. The administration knew over there. You'd have to have your light on, and that meant that you wanted to go to yard. Guys used to turn their lights off because they didn't want no part of it. But those of us that remained active, we turn our lights on and we go out. It's like a little enclosure before you get out to the yard. And the yard's like a little, it's kind of shaped like a piece of pie. When you get in that little enclosure, you can see through the yard door who you're gonna go out there and get off with. So we go out, we fight. Always try to get yourself situated so that they have their back to the gunner, so that you can see what the gunner's doing. Because we were the ones that were getting targeted. It was the Northerners and the blacks that were getting shot and killed over there. There's no warning shots per se, but what they have is they have it's called a Bertha or a knee knocker. It's like a gas gun that fires little wooden blocks. Sometimes they'll fire it once, twice, and then they'll grab the real gun. But yeah, they don't give warning shots. Now the other thing though too is the COs are making bets. They would be like, "Hey, we got money on you guys, man. You guys better go out there and do your thing, man." You know, sometimes they would take their best fighters from one building and they would take the best fighter from another building and get them out there. When I first came in the system, I was young. I used to mean mug them. I used to have a bad taste, you know, for certain individuals. And I didn't even know why I hated them. It was because I was supposed to. That's the mindset that was instilled within me. But being around them, a lot of them were just like us. They were solid dudes. If there's a Sureño and he needs some toothpaste, or I got a book and he wants to read it, you know, we'll pass literature back and forth to each other. We can play chess on the tier. It doesn't do us any good to make that environment any more stressful than what it is. Now, like I said, if the gates open, we were directed to basically torpedo out and engage with whoever was on the tier.
That's sad. That's crazy. And guards are literally being paid, and this is the behavior that they have. Man, You're already in the worst situation imaginable. You're spending like large chunks of your life being incarcerated, locked in a cell, smelling grown man farts. This dude is locked in this little it's like two dudes being locked in a closet together, but they just happen to have bunk beds, toilet, and a face bowl in this closet with y'all. And this is how you have to spend years out of your life. And to add injury to insult, it's a guard that's getting his rocks off by seeing y'all fight. Yeah. Fuck you, Rick Ross. For real. Straight up.
If we were going to take off on staff, the guards, our politics might get set aside for a bigger purpose, to where, yeah, we might come together to go against the administration. You might see something like a small uprising within an ADSEG unit or something where we're not getting fed right. They're tearing up our cells and disrespecting, personal possessions like pictures and things like that, where everybody says, you know what, we had enough. Let's just all board up, blocking your window so that they can't see in there, which basically forces them to have to come in there and cell extract you. It's something that I was personally involved in before in Susanville. When we were going through the Cork and Shoe Wars, people might debate this, but a lot of the COs were split as far as who they favored in that war. Even some of the female officers, it's just you could tell that they were either sympathizing for the North or they were sympathizing for the South. A lot of it is geography, where that prison's at, whether or not they got family that are that might be hooked up. So it just depends. Corruption, it's rampant in the county jails. I mean, you see a lot of relationships that happen where female officers are getting into relationships with inmates. The next thing you know, they're bringing in drugs. They're not getting that kind of stuff into the visiting room. They're getting it through corrupt COs. In prison, one of the things that is a huge problem are the cell phones that are coming in. But it's a huge business for COs. They can make anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 bringing in a phone, a cell phone. Having the phones it's a lot different because, again, when I was in the shoe.
And what people need to understand, like on the street, you could buy a cell phone for like $50. Like just one of these throwaway corner store phones, you can get one for $50, $70, $100. But everything on the street sells for way more money when you're locked up. So if somebody could get a pack of cigarettes for $13 on the streets, being locked up, that same pack of cigarettes is gonna be worth more than $100, like way more, like maybe $200 for that same pack of cigarettes. So anything that you got going on, cell phones that cost literally $100 on the streets, you take that same cell phone in the prison systems, and now that cheap ass cell phone is $700. That's crazy. I get it, but that's definitely crazy.
Program back in the 90s, you had, when we be back there plotting somebody's murder, there was a lot of lag time that was involved. Either it had to go out through a letter, a coded letter, a phone call, or a visit. And you'd have to wait maybe a week or two for somebody to drive 300-400 miles to come see you up in Pelican Bay. But now you put these cell phones in the hands of these leaders. If somebody's got a green light on them, they'll make a phone call. You'll get a leader that will call a figurehead on the streets, and it will happen in real time. Hey, this dude's got a green light on him. He's got to go. It might happen that same night. Let's say somebody came on the tier, I was on the tier in the ad seg or something, and he was like 6 cells down. I'd make verbal contact with them. I'd yell down there, hey homie, that just came in. Hey, once you get situated, go ahead and make a line so that, I can get at you. Making a line is where you take the elastic from your boxers or from the strands from your sheet. You'll make a line and you'll tie them together so that you can put a weight at the end of it, and then you'll throw it down the tier. It's just like a way to get back and forth to the cells. So he'll tie the kite on there and I'll pull it in and I'll read it and then I'll respond to it and he'll pull it back. Ingenuity. There's a lot of different ways to do things like that. Covert communications. There's a language that we use in there is called Nawa. It's an Aztec language and there's different dialects, but we use it so that if we're on a tier and we need to communicate and there's officers on the tier, we can talk on the tier in front of them and they're not gonna know what we say. There's very few people that know the whole language. They'll just know certain words like weapon, drugs, CO, hit, green light, things like that. Norteños, our color is red. Sureños.
So tell me, these dudes that are running these organizations couldn't be leaders of industry when they were out. They know different languages. They know how to, it seems like they just know how to conduct business. I've met dudes that back in my day that I hustled with, that I just talking to them and dealing with them on a regular basis, could tell like, hey, y'all shouldn't be doing this. Y'all shouldn't be doing this. Y'all should be doing something way different. Like y'all could be leaders of industry right now, but this is what you're choosing to do. Man, it's so many people that are so intelligent, but they, working for I won't say the wrong side, but they're working for the other side. I won't say the wrong side, because people that are in situations like that, a lot of those people are evil. So who's on the wrong side? Like, really? Is it the people that are going against the law, or the people that are going for the law? Because there's a lot of people that don't give a damn about anybody else. All they care about is money. Is that the right side, though? Like, you put people's lives in danger. You knowingly give them things that that could harm them. So who's on the wrong side?
Very few people that know the whole language. They'll just know certain words like weapon, drugs, CO, hit, green light, things like that. Norteños, our color is red. Sureños, they wear blue. So the NF insignia, the sombrero, obviously it signifies the Mexican heritage. You got the dagger that signifies that this is a violent organization, and then each drop of blood characterizes its own individual meaning. So one drop of blood is for blood in, guys that have spilled blood coming into the organization, blood out, meaning anybody that tries to walk away from the organization, it's an automatic death sentence. And then the third drop of blood is for members that have honorably spilled blood, that have died in the course of, their career. I had Nuestra Familia tattooed on the back of my head, and I got that covered up. I had a star on my hairline when I had hair. That signified the NR. I had Familiano over my left eyebrow, being a family member in Spanish. And then I had a tattoo on the back of my forearm. I had an NF back there.
Let me show you how we do stuff around here.
Actually, my department uses Monday.com, so I'm good.
A work management tool? No, that's not for me.
The whole purpose of generating money is supposed to be for the less fortunate members, that are doing life in prison, that don't have a means to take care of themselves. That's what it's supposed to be. It's a smokescreen, though. There's no trickle down effect. There's a trickle up effect. The money that comes in, it goes to the leadership, the select few at the top of the hierarchy. And they're the ones that use that money for their own expenses. You know, some of it's used to invest in drugs and to invest in new regiments or new territory that breaking NF ground out there on the streets. If I got a visitor that's willing to bring in drugs, off the top, my gang is gonna require whatever, 25% of it, 50% of it, or I might even have to turn it all over to them, and they'll give me back what, they feel that they want to give me. You're part of that gang. You're gonna take care of that gang or that criminal organization. The biggest thing in prison, county jails, the currency in there is soups. Everybody loves soups, top ramens. That's like a prison or jail currency right there.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously then you got weed, tobacco, then the hardcore drugs and things like that. White Lightning, like a cup of that, it can go for like $50, but you're talking about like a cup of something that's like vodka. I learned early on from a young gang member that the more violent I was, the more blood that I spilled out there on the streets, the more respect I got. The fastest way to elevate yourself within the organization is by hurting people. So out on the streets, the structure, you have your regimental commander, second in command, your squad leaders, and then your manpower. I would have.
Man, this dude saying like how the organization works, I'm assuming he's putting his life in jeopardy just by talking about all of the structure and all of that. I just kind of realized something while I'm doing this too. Oh shit, I'm putting it out here too. But I'm not a part of them, so I know it hit hard when one of their actual members breaks down exactly how the structure works. I hope. All right, now.
Have a second in command, and he would be my buffer. He would collect the money. He would make sure that everybody's following policy, issuing out the drugs, the guns that were coming in off the streets. That was to kind of keep me insulated. In the 90s, when it was a lot different, the regiments were called colonias. Back in those days, everything was compartmentalized. You had.
And if y'all notice, he keeps talking about how things were in the 90s. So I'm assuming he lives like a regular life now, but this is just his knowledge of how things were when he was actually getting down in the 90s.
A robbery crew, another crew that would sell dope. You had a wrecking crew. I think the influence has waned over the years, like a lot. In the 80s and the 90s, you couldn't testify against the NF and live in the same county. You wouldn't even want to be in California. The threat was very real back in those days. But once the 3-strike law came into effect, we kind of stepped away from the violent crimes and started doing almost exclusively selling drugs. The influence is there. People know that they're out there. They're in the cuts. They're functioning. It's just not it's not like it was.
Not as prevalent.
I want to say since like 68 is when the NF first came into inception. From that time on, that's when they took a stand against the Mexican mafia in South Block, San Quentin. This is basically when the NF banded together, decided that they weren't gonna be abused by the Mexican mafia anymore. And from that point on, that's when the war started. So for almost the next 5 decades, that war was in effect. The truce actually started back in the SHU program in Pelican Bay, the end of hostilities, their agreement. Again, the whole purpose of it was for a lot of these guys that had been in the SHU program for some of them 3 decades, it was to get back out to the main lines and to basically show CDC that they could, live on the same yard without killing each other. So I thought it was a temporary thing. They were gonna get out there, somebody was gonna push a line somewhere, and it was gonna kick off, and then it was just gonna be a domino effect. But it's lasted. I mean, honestly, I never thought in my lifetime that I would ever see the day when norteños and sureños would be out there on the same yards playing basketball with each other, walking laps with each other. But at the same time, there was a lot of house cleaning. Guys that had issues, internal issues within their respective gang were getting dealt with. Whether it was over misconduct, something came up in their past or something like that, there was a lot of house cleaning. And then there was a lot of guys that didn't agree with the peace treaty. They felt like, you know what, I didn't sign up for this, man. What are we doing?
Yeah, imagine this. Somebody's been your 100% enemy for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And now y'all got to play nice. I mean, people are literally keeping score. You took one of mine, I took 2 of yours. You took 3 of mine, I took 4 of yours. People are keeping score. And then to have to play nice after all of that, and I'm looking at you and I know you took 2 of mine. Like, man, that's got to hit way different. Like, way different.
What about all the brothers that have spilled blood in the past? I think the violence is worse. When they let these guys out of the SHOOT program, all these leaders, guys that are from the 70s, from the 80s, when I came to prison, they're starting to bring the old school back, where they're not just poking people and slicing people up no more. You see all the murders that are happening out there. You know, the Mexican Mafia, the NF, they're behind it. They would rather eat their own right now, stab some of their own people. I mean, it's crazy. The politics that are going on right now, everything's going backwards.
Lucky number 7. 7 days of the week, 7 wonders of the world. Culture is shaped by 7s. Experience the redefining BMW 7 Series now.
It's a nice car, though. I buy one.
In 2004, I was arrested in a multi-agency investigation where I was the leader of a street crew, an NF regiment. So I was the main target in that investigation. On the first day, on June 11th, 2004, they raided around 8 houses that were all in relation to this investigation. On the first wave, they hit my house where I had all my guns. They hit another house where I had all my money. By 2005, that case continued to snowball. They put me in an observation cell because they said I had too much influence with the norteños. So they wanted to keep me isolated. And during that time, my whole concern was, my girl, she had lupus. I was trying to do everything I could to make it easy on her. I knew I was in trouble, but I didn't want to tell her because she had lupus, and for somebody like that, stress is a killer. So during the first couple weeks, talking to her, my mom on the phone, I had some difficult conversations with them. What are you going to do? You're going to sacrifice yourself, think about your family for once. My mom kept pushing me to cooperate. She kept pushing me to cooperate. You need to cooperate. Do what you do. Your wife's out here dying. What are you going to do?
Listening to how he's been talking so far, I think he cooperated. I think.
And I basically started pacifying her, telling her whatever I needed to tell her. Let the case play out. I haven't even been to court yet. So what they do is, and understandably, they release my phone calls of how I've been talking to my girl. And all my co-defendants hear these conversations, about cooperating.
That's
trying to explain that to the NF, it was gonna fall on deaf ears. Because of who I was a leader. I get held to different standards because I know better, and I got no business talking like that. This is 5 years later now. People are still speculating that I'm cooperating. Come on, man, it's 5 years, and there's no police reports, there's nothing. So somebody that had an agenda pushed the issue with leadership up in the Bay. They put a green light on me. Nothing happened. It was literally the dude that tried to honoring the green light tried to push a phone over in front of me on the tier. I still held my mud. I still wanted to be a part of the organization. 17 months later, they put me back on the active tier. I functioned for another 2 years, put another green light on me. And the second time it was just as bad as the first time. Somebody wanted to act like they were trying to spear me through the bars. The spear was like 2 feet too short, didn't have a tip on it. You know, my wife, she died. She ended up dying. My mom ended up dying. She passed away. So they did this at a time when I was already in a dark place. You know what I mean? I'm looking at life. I was getting ready to plead out. But then they pulled that. So I was like, you know what? I'm done, man. The district attorney wants to wash me up. You know, I'm in bad standings now with the NF. What do? Law enforcement again came up and they're like, you know what? Loyalty only goes so far. Come on, man. I agreed that I was done and that, you know, that I would talk to him. So that's what I did from that point on. I denounced my membership and, you know, I agreed to cooperate. However, the cooperation that I gave was just, I didn't go in as a percipient witness. Everybody that I got arrested with was gone. So I went in there basically talking about what I'm talking about now, how gangs work. The judge struck 2 of my strike priors, which took me out of the 3 strikes and gave me 16 years, 8 months. I've been in the county jail almost 10 years. None of that had to happen.
He was in the county for 10 years. Whoa. So I'm not even going to ask what y'all think if he was snitching. He was 100% snitching. Y'all think it was righteous though? I mean, he didn't tell on nobody, period. He just told how the structure works. I already know. It was even telling on that. That's definitely not righteous. So what's crazy is you still got to keep that code of conduct even when they trying to kill you. That's still considered snitching. Ah, man. The problem is y'all joined up for this. Y'all knew exactly what y'all signed up for. So this is what you signed up for. Even when they trying to kill you for no fucking reason at all, you still gotta stay solid. Man, quit playing.
If the NF would have let me fight my case, I would have been a big dummy sitting in Pelican Bay right now with a life sentence. Yeah, I was one of the true believers. But, you know, by them pulling the trigger twice, I felt betrayed. For somebody that just doesn't want to be part of the organization no more, for them to walk away, to just ride off into the sunset and go on about their life and not hurt nobody, it's still not considered honorable, but it's something that people will say, you know what, at least he didn't tell on everybody. At least he didn't hurt nobody. But, you know, there's never a retirement. You'll never be able to walk away in good standings. I've had a couple of situations where I ran into some individuals, when there are 15 of them, that's when everybody wants to get active. But, you know, when I catch cats by themselves, they're not trying to do all that, you know. And then I'm not trying to look for trouble.
So him cooperating on the level that he did still puts his life in danger. Probably still puts his family members' life in danger. So remember that when y'all sign up for this. It's not for everybody. People can get to you. If they don't get to you, they can get to your family members. Like, come on. Is it worth really signing up in the first place? Is it?
Either, you know, I'm trying to just live out the rest of my days without all the drama. I'm not gonna spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder.
Quit playing with me, y'all. I think I paid enough bills.
I grew up in San Francisco, California. My mom was a young heroin addict. She got involved with drugs at a young age. At the age of 11, I found my way back to my mom's from foster care. You know, I found out she was using, and she didn't just give it to me. People are gonna be like, "What kind of mother gives their 12-year-old child heroin?" I understand that, but I don't blame her. I look at it as she was stuck in her addiction at a young age. She got stuck in that cycle, and I kind of manipulated the situation. I told her I knew what she was doing, and if she didn't give it to me, I was gonna go get it in the streets. And from that point on, for the next 40 years, that tore my life up in every way possible. From relationships to the choices I would make, me becoming involved in the criminal element. From then, I stopped going to school. I started drinking. That's when I started getting involved with gangs. It started with burglarizing cars, ripping out the radios, the speakers, selling them for drugs, robberies, home invasions, and then we started using weapons, and it just continued to escalate. From that time, it didn't take me long before I got caught up in the juvenile justice system. I caught 4 robberies, 1 out of San Francisco and 2 out of San Mateo. I took 7 years, ran consecutive, and they sent me to prison. My book is, I've met, through talking to at-risk youth, I've talked to kids that have gotten in trouble. Probation officers come up and tell me that, these youngsters, they read your book, and we actually use your book as like a workshop type of thing. The name of the book is called In the West of the Familiar, A Broken Paradigm. And so I started doing a YouTube channel, Paradigm Media News. I got a series on my channel. One's called Inner Demons, and the other one's called War Stories. It's also therapeutical to talk about it, to try to help some of these youngsters that might be headed for that type of lifestyle. I give them the fine print that they don't hear about until it's too late, until they make a commitment and they find themselves in that situation. I've seen a lot of my homeboys die throughout the years. Most of them are gone. There's only 3 roads you're gonna travel in this lifestyle. You're either gonna spend the rest of your life in prison, you're gonna die trying to push the organization's advancement forward, or you're gonna turn your back. There's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Hey, y'all, what he's saying and what he's doing is something serious. He's literally putting his life in danger to try to help people out here. So y'all go support him, buy his book, read his book, tell people about his book. Leave some comments. Let me know what y'all think about it. Like and support me too. Your boy. 3 Stacks out.